don't know what to do with this stuff.
And we are live after that comment. Hold on. I'm going to see. Hi, everyone. Hey, welcome to SVT time. Yes, John and I were literally talking about our hair fashions and how we've just kind of, or at least me, as you can tell, the coloring, it's gone. I don't care anymore. So, welcome to SVT time. It's Tuesday. It's episode 84, I think it is. I've lost count. In case you're wondering, Dom is not with us today. Dom is on paternity leave. Yes, Dom is.
Congratulations to Dom.
And Dom, if you're watching, congratulations, buddy. Get as much rest as you can.
But I hope he's asleep.
I'm hoping he's asleep. He said this is the time that the baby usually sleeps, so that when the baby sleeps, he sleeps. So, anyways, it's just you and I today, John. Anyways, so.
All good.
But hey, man, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this, too. I know. When was the last time you were on SVT? It's got to be 2-3 years. I can look it up.
I guess we've done it a few times, but it's always a pleasure. It's always fun.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. And especially, we have some very specific things that we want to talk about today, too, that you were really instrumental in and part of the reason why we're meeting today and having this conversation.
Yep.
But yes, you know what? My notes are really bad, but it's been a couple of years, I know at least. And then there were group, some of the anniversary things that we did. And so what have you been up to lately?
Well, The Who, you might have heard, The Who did a couple shows.
A little band called The Who.
So I'm the bass player with The Who. I have been for the past 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
And we did a couple shows at Royal Albert Hall a few weeks ago, last month.
Yep.
And
ironically, everybody here, I'm looking at the comments from the YouTube comments. Everybody here is from the UK, I think.
Oh,
Dave McWan, Raichu. I think Raichu is from Germany, actually, but Paul Trainer. These are all our regular viewers, and they all call in from the UK. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But man, 7 years with the Who. Yeah, Raichu, Germany. That's right. It's been 7 years with the Who.
Crazy, right? Well, I mean, there was like a couple of years that sort of didn't happen.
Yeah. That's true.
There was that thing. And they took 2018 off. They didn't do anything. It's pretty. It gets kind of sparse with them sometimes, which is unfortunate. I wish we'd do more.
Now, these dates, these Royal Albert Hall dates were just a set of one-off dates. It's not the kickoff of a tour or anything.
No, they were so Roger and Pete have a charity called the Teen Cancer Trust.
Right.
And they do every year, they do a week-long thing at Royal Albert Hall.
Okay.
And so those shows were for that, with Level 42 opening for us.
How cool is that?
So cool. I mean, when I was in probably early high school, when I was like 14, Level 42 came out, they're like a pop band and the lead singer is a slap bass player. And I'm like, what?
Right.
And so, I was total fanboy. It's amazing.
Now, was this the first time you got to meet Mark King, or have you met him?
Yeah, I met him that was the first time I met him. I only met him very briefly. He was super nice, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And man, he kills it. He crushed it. I stood on the side of the stage just like.
It's funny because in my clinics, I always joke about how you should never give a bass player a mic unless they're Paul McCartney or Sting. But I need to add Mark King in there too, because his vocals are just as stellar as his playing, and he does it at the same time.
Dude,
which really
and he's not just playing rote bass parts and singing, he's improvising and playing fills and sing. It's what?
It's otherworldly. Yeah,
totally. It's wow.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, after 7 years with the Who, are you finally comfortable playing the bass solo in My Generation? Dude, it sounded killer.
Thank you so much. Seriously. Yeah, it's funny. That thing, it's I feel for myself, I feel like that what is it, 15 seconds of the show is basically what everybody's going to judge me on, right? At least that's what I'm going to judge myself on.
Sure.
You know, I can like play all kinds of stuff the whole show, but like that moment is like,
yep.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
So that, I feel that pressure that like, I don't want to.
I was going to say, do you psych yourself out, or like, how do you prepare for that? Because normally, like, anybody that's in that position, you're either going to psych yourself out to the point where you just kind of blow it, or you put yourself in a Zen mind where it's like, I'm going to psych myself out. But how do you prepare for that?
Well, the first thing I do, I'm a preparer.
Yeah.
Majorly. So one thing I do, I've played that solo over and over again with a click, just ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And I change it a little bit here and there, but I definitely will sit and just play that thing a million times. I mean, it's like, a basketball player, you just sit there and shoot baskets for 3 hours, right? That's how so I practice that thing a lot. And then, yes, when that's coming up, I, just take a deep breath.
Sit back.
It's easy to rush on that.
Yeah.
Which ruins everything. Easy to hit too hard. Like you get all excited and then like it all goes to pop. So there's a lot of, it can go wrong, but all that's definitely factors. Yeah. So practice it a lot. And also when I'm practicing, I practice like while I'm practicing it, thinking the mind frame of like, okay, I'm going to relax. I'm going to play, not play too hard and like think all that stuff, get it all like wired in your brain.
Yeah.
And then when it's coming up, just take a deep breath and like relax.
Yeah. I know. I mean, there's other songs in the Who catalog that you play that, anything that Entwistle always played was so iconic, but
true. But that spot is like,
I remember when you first got the gig and you came to NAMM. And I joked, I was like, hey, if you need somebody to show you that my generation, I'll come see, like, but that was, remember, I mean, you're so true. It's like, that's the first thing that people are going to focus on, but I'm like you, man, preparation. Like if I'm playing a gig that I've never played with somebody, or I know there's going to be not weirdness on stage, but there's going to be a lot of tension going on just because it's a new preparation. Like the more I am prepared for the gig, the more comfortable I am when it comes time for downbeat. And
the
I
more
know
comfortable everybody else is at that point, right?
Yeah.
There's no replacement for preparation.
I mean, even now, like, if I have a wedding gig coming up or whatever, a top 40 gig coming up, I will literally go back to Brown Eyed Girl and go. And every time I listen to it, it's like, oh shit, I never played that.
Totally.
Oh wow, yeah. All right.
That happens to me too. I mean, even with Who stuff, like every once in a while, I'll go back and be like, oh,
yeah,
whoops.
Right.
There's some detail. I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that.
Absolutely. It's all about preparation. About preparation, guys. Yeah. So I got to ask you, man, and I'll put the link up here in a little bit, but you've been very, very busy and instrumental with this organization called, here, let me put the link up here. I'll put it in the comments. See this? altadinamusicians.org, and I'll put it, it goes on Facebook and YouTube. So you've been very instrumental in this. I remember when you approached us asking if Ampeg and Yamaha Guitar Group would be interested in helping with this. So how did you get involved? First of all, were you personally?
Well, we should preface this with that we're talking about the fires that happened.
Thank you.
In LA. I don't think we mentioned that.
No, you're right.
Yeah, so we were trying to help out after the fires.
Yeah. Now, and obviously there were two separate fires that turned into one big debacle in Los Angeles between the Altadena fire and the Palisades fire. And anybody that doesn't know LA geography, they're probably 60 miles apart, maybe 30 miles apart.
Yeah, 30.
Okay.
Which is, like a 4-hour drive.
Yeah. Depending on traffic. Yeah. And yeah, so obviously we know what happened there, and we won't get into, anything behind that other than the fact that a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people lost their lives, and a lot of people lost their livelihoods. Like,
yes,
you know,
and a lot of people lost their studios.
Yeah.
So I'm closer to Altadena. Fortunately, not too close, but pretty close. Like it's right down, right down the road.
Yeah.
And Altadena was an affordable neighborhood that had a lot of musicians. It's a very like creative kind of community there. And so I've met a ton of people that lost their whole studio. I know like a lot of people, and they had, they've been like people that have been collecting gear their whole life. It's all in their studio, and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
Because people did not have any warning. It was like, open the door, there's flames right there, put your shoes on and
get out.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally.
It happened so fast.
Yeah.
So after it happened, I was like, I know there are tons of musicians there. And I just sort of had it in my mind, like, there's got to be bass players that are like, man, I got to go do a gig to like, make some money. And I don't have an amp, and I thought, so I reached out to you and just said, hey, can we like try and get some amps to these people? And also part of what sparked it for me is I remember, if you remember, I don't recall how long ago it was. Must have been more than 15 years ago. There was a huge flood in Nashville.
I remember that.
This?
Yes. Yeah.
And like there was a music rental like and cartage place that people stored their, that got flooded and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I remember at that time some organization was helping out, and I sent a bass out there to lend to somebody so they could go do gigs for like 6 months. And then they sent it back. And it was cool, like, to help out in that way. So anyway, I really wanted to see if we could get bass players that, lost everything. And so you guys were kind enough to say yes. And Dom and I had a fun afternoon digging through the Ampeg warehouse, which was, that place is huge. It was crazy. And so we were digging around and finding stuff and had to test all of it, see if it worked. Some of them are like, it doesn't work.
Let me share this photo.
So I borrowed a friend's Sprinter cargo van.
Yep.
Dom and I loaded up like 16 amps in there. And I had initially put up a post on social media like, hey, who lost an amp? Who needs anything? And I didn't hear anything back. And then a friend was like, hey, you need to meet this guy, Brandon J. And he's the one that has, does film score, like has written music for TV shows and stuff, lives in Altadena, lost his studio and plays everything. But he started this organization that's helping link people donating gear to people that are in need. And so he suddenly like when I initially put that post up, I didn't hear back from anybody.
Right.
But then a friend linked me to Brandon, and Brandon started just sending me, here's a guy that needs this person needs an amp, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden all these people were coming to my house. Like, and it was great. It was really cool everybody was so appreciative.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool.
Well,
there's Dom and I loading up amps.
Exactly. Like literally you took time out of your day to drive out to Calabasas, which isn't an easy drive. It's 20 miles, but it is 3 hours to get out there.
Yeah.
And loaded up your van and I will, let me see if I can call up some of these other photos too, but
the pictures of the people that got amps.
Yeah, man.
People like I said, people were so grateful and appreciative. Like after losing everything, it's like the simplest little things, I think,
and I mean, like I said, you were, it's not, I've got the website. I don't have the photo. You had every time somebody came out to pick up an amp, I know you had done a social post on it, just kind of saying another amp, another this, and again, it wasn't. Hold on a second. Where did my screen go here? Oh, did I
technical difficulties?
Yeah. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hi, here I am.
I've got like 3 different screens going on here. It's too much. But yeah, it was. like I said, you were so instrumental because we have a tendency of, granted, we have a lot of people that come to us throughout the year asking for help and asking for donations. And
I'm sure.
And, when I went to my boss, he was like, yeah, it's a great idea. Luckily, we had gear out in the warehouse that was kind of just sitting there, from trade shows. And I had some stuff from artist relations. And so,
well, correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of it seemed like, some of it was like from testing new models.
Yes.
But a lot of it was like stuff that you couldn't sell.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And so it was like, what do we do with this? We can't sell it. And yeah. So I think that was helpful.
And it's funny because every time I go out to Calabasas, I usually end up spending at least 1 or 2 days crawling around that warehouse, like sorting stuff out. And every time somebody talks about this warehouse, it's like, I'm not going out there. And then the next day I find myself like covered in dust.
It's
with a
wild,
face mask.
Man.
Oh yeah. And you have to wear a face mask too if you spend any amount of time out there because but anyways, John, I can't stress the people that are watching. Like, if it wasn't for you, this probably would not have happened because I would get your email, I would get your communication. Okay, let's do this on this day. And, because otherwise, between Dom and myself being on the East Coast, I had no way to facilitate it.
Right.
Dom, with his, I know this was right around, I think, probably with his wife announcing that they were starting a family. So, but again, it was like he had hit, and it was just like you kind of jumped in and said, I'm going to facilitate this. I'll come out with a van. I'll make sure that it gets distributed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
and I really have to give a big shout out to Brandon J and the Altadena Musicians thing. Cause he was the one that made it so I could go, here's the amps, you have the people, and he connected me to the people.
Yeah.
And if you go to altadenamusicians.org, they have a link to an app that they've made now. So if anybody wants to go on there, the app is designed, it's almost, I haven't used the app yet. Full disclosure. My understanding is that it's sort of like Reverb, but for free. So basically, if you have some gear laying around that you don't know what to do with, you can put it on there, and then somebody that lost their gear, they can go, I'm looking for this.
Yep.
And it boop. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then I was mentioning to you before we got on, night before last, Altadena Musicians had a huge, well, not huge, but a big event here night before last, where they were accepting donations like in real time. It was at a bar called Zebulon. It has a big outdoor space behind them. And so all these LA musicians were bringing like good gear. It was really cool, like pedals and basses, some pretty nice basses. People are like, here you go. It's like
no
amazing.
65Ps, I imagine.
No, definitely not that one.
Not that one.
Sorry. I'd love to give that to somebody, but
no,
hell no.
No.
That's my baby. But yeah, it was a really cool event. And they had a bunch of kids bands playing. My son played.
Yeah.
It was his first, he's 11.
First gig?
Yeah, well, it was their first gig like at a bar with a PA.
Yeah.
And they played like at their school playground and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was cool and on another level. But yeah, it's a really cool event. And a lot of people got connected with gear that they needed. And so
and this is Altadena Musicians organization. There's a whole nother, I don't know if anybody from the Palisades has done as much as altadenamusicians.org has, like if there's another organization,
right.
But
I'm sure... I mean, I feel like just the demographics of Altadena, it's like a lot more sort of just working musicians. Like it's a little, I don't know.
No,
Palisades is a pretty ritzy-ish. So,
but I mean, I heard, well, 2 instances, and I don't know how true one of them is, but Bob Clearmountain lost his studio.
True.
Think of all the, all the I don't know if he keeps masters in his studio or anything, but just think of all the historical stuff that was done in his studio, not even just the face value of the gear, but just stuff that was done in his studio.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
well, that reminds me, in Altadena, John Clayton, famous bass player, which funny enough, a couple of weeks ago, I was flying out to my parents' place. I ran into, he was on my flight to Minneapolis, and I saw him at luggage claim. I was like, "Hey, you're John Clayton."
Yeah.
And I was just talking to him about, because I knew he lost his house, and like, anyway, he had he confirmed with me that he had Ray Brown's bass.
That's the other one that I wasn't sure about, and you just confirmed that.
Yeah. So I mean, what is that? One of the most recorded basses of all time. Like, just goodbye.
Wow.
And that's one thing. I mean, what were there, thousands of houses and studios and
and I mean, again, to get on the level, I think Hutch and I were talking about this. I mean, some of these folks are art collectors too. They keep valued art in their house,
and that's never coming back. Though, just gone forever. Also, vinyl.
Yeah. In fact, Paul Traynor had mentioned the records. Just vinyl, and man. Anyways, it's it's beyond. And again, say what you want. And like you said, Altadena and Pacific Palisades are kind of two demographics. And I know there was a lot of, and I don't want to get into like socioeconomics or any of that crap, but, there was a lot of like, well, it's the Palisades. They've got money. They can rebuild Altadena. It's like, you're not seeing the point here. Like, people literally lost their lives. They lost their surrounding life. They lost everything.
And it's also, they lost their community.
Yeah.
Like, so, there are a few people I know that their house didn't burn somehow. They were like, but they're still in the, like, you have a house in the middle of an ashtray with no neighbors. Like, what's that? That's
now you're living in a construction zone. If anybody's building around you for that, so. I know it. Anyways,
but the bright side is, it's brought a whole bunch of people together. And like, I've, the sweet people that I've met, that I've connected with, getting amps to them, like really cool, like wonderful people, and, made a good connection. And, it's kind of bringing this community a little closer together in a way that's positive and cool.
Yeah. Yep. No, that is definitely the bright side, and hopefully more bright sides will come out of it too,
Yeah.
So I'm glad you weren't affected personally in your property and whatnot, but
it was it was a scary night.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Well, I mean, for the 10 years that I lived in LA, 8 of them I lived up in Canyon Country. And I remember the deciding factor that made my wife want to move back here to New England was we lived on the side of a canyon. Her parents were out visiting us for the first time, and a fire broke out on the ridge up above. And me explaining to her dad, like, hey, we got to put documents in the back of the pickup truck. Like, we got to be ready to go at any minute. And he, growing up on the East Coast, he says, what do you mean you got to be ready to go at any minute? It's like, we got to put all our valuables in my pickup truck, and at any minute we might get the evacuation order, and we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think 6 months later, it was like, my wife was like, you know what? We're moving back home. Yeah, we're done. But anyways, well, cool, man. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you to all the musicians and everybody.
And thank you to Ampeg. And it's
been
a cool thing.
So what's next for Jon Button? What I know you're always busy with projects and and family life, of course, as well. So
what is next? The Who have a few shows in July.
Okay.
And then don't know after that. It's kind of a mystery. I'm in one of those complicated things that happens when you do what I do, which is I have 3 different possibilities in the fall, and I'm trying to figure out, like, the Who might go out in the fall, but I can't get a yes or no. And I sort of am holding out for that, and I can't book this other thing until I find out. So That's,
Man.
it's a good problem to have, I guess, unless like what happens sometimes for me is like you're juggling all this stuff and then it just all goes away. And then you're just like, well, shoot,
And
So,
of course, your first priority is with the Who, I would assume,
yes, for sure. For a number
but
of reasons. Yeah.
yeah, but so how do you plan for that? And
You can't.
you
It's
can't.
like impossible. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, obviously quality problems like boo-hoo. Do I do the Who?
No, but
It's hard because I mean, last spring I had like an offer of a few weeks with somebody, and then like there was like one Who gig that overlapped, and like
couldn't do it.
So I gotta turn down a month of stuff because of this one Who gig.
Yeah.
Again,
and you can't.
Good problem to have, but it gets tricky.
Yeah, no, and it's a tough problem to have. It's a good problem, but it's a tough problem to work as a professional musician, as a businessman. You look at the people you work with as your clients per se.
Yep.
And how do you keep all your clients happy without leading them on or dragging out something?
Right. And that's it's tempting to sometimes and people do this, say yes to everything and then bail when something else comes up. But that people then don't trust you and they won't hire you because they're like, oh, he's just going to bail.
Yeah.
So it's
a gig. Yeah.
It's a balance. And then also another thing that's a challenge sometimes is, if you don't have some work lined up, you're like, what level do you like go to? Like, I could take a pay cut to do tour A, but then maybe a month down the road, tour B comes along and it pays way more. And then I'm like, oh, I'm stuck in this other, like, it can be challenging.
Yeah. Well, this is the business side of being a musician, a contractor.
For hire side man.
Yeah. I remember when I was living in LA, they called them casuals. We used to call them casualties. Always a casualty. But and a casual, for anybody that's not familiar, is basically a corporate gig, a wedding gig. And there are contractors that would hire musicians from their circle, from their contracting circle. And I always remembered, like, summertime I would be kind of busy. But then, like, in the off touring season, my phone wouldn't ring. And finally, I remember talking to another fellow musician of mine. And he says, basically what happens is when tours end, all the touring guys come back into town and they get bumped up.
Take all the gigs.
Yeah. So your name gets pushed down to the bottom of the list. I was like, well, how do you combat? Like, how do you work around? He says, you really can't. It's, it's kind of like the pecking order or the hierarchy of musicians in LA. And, and that's just kind of how it was, but I remember
also, there's another aspect of it for me where a lot of people just go, oh, John's out with the Who. So they don't think to call me. And it's like, hey, the Who did 3 shows last year. Like I'm here,
Yeah.
And then also there's a really cool community of bass players. And so, I definitely get called a few, friends that are like, hey, I can't do this tour, but hey, maybe, would you be up for, blah, blah, blah. So there's definitely a lot of friendly throwing stuff to each other around here. It's a very nice, cool, good community of bass players.
Yeah. Well,
help each other out.
Keep me on that list. Remember me on that list if you need somebody out here on the East Coast in Boston. We got a cool Boston artist that's looking for a middle-aged Greek bass player.
For sure.
And because of you, I didn't buy a 65p bass, but I did buy the 71.
This is right. That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. How are you liking it?
Man, I got to tell you, and it was you and Mark Damon from the Pretty Reckless that were really instrumental. And of course, so many influences, but I've been taking it out on gigs, and I just had it out this past weekend on an outdoor thing. And I switched between my MTD 5-string and then the P bass. And after every show, front of house comes up and they go, your MTD sounds really good, man. I mean, it sounds, it's an MTD. But that P bass. And that's all I get. It's like, what about
something about those P basses,
it's
man.
a P bass to an Ampeg,
Yeah.
Which,
by the way, that reminds me, I have to say, so I got a RB 210 back a while ago, the Rocket Bass combo. That's a 210 combo. And I used it for a bit. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I got the Venture Head with a single 12 and, for just gigs around LA.
Yeah.
And I hadn't used the combo for a minute because I've been using the Venture Head. And last week I did a gig, like just a little bar gig with some great guitar players. But I got the 210 combo out. Dude, that thing sounds so good.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, this is like, those nights where you're just like, man, everything just feels like it's all working. That combo sounds killer.
It really does. It really does. Now, what in your experience, because you went a little while between the Venture and the Rocket Bass, what differences do you think you notice between the Venture and a single 12, and obviously the difference in speaker size? But
I think that's a big part of it.
Okay.
I think that the 210s have a little bit more like low mids.
Okay.
A little more like kind of presence in the low mids. I think I was missing that with a single 12. There was a little bit of mid-range missing.
Okay.
For me. I don't know. It's different nights playing with different people. It's all, apples and oranges to an extent.
And you were using one single 12, or were you using the two single 12s?
Mostly I use one for most of the things I've been doing. That's plenty for most of it. I have used the two 12, like two separate 112 cabinets, and that's pretty rocking.
Yeah. That's been that actually that's what I used this weekend, was two single 112 cabs, the Venture 112 cabs. And my old rig was always the two classic SVT single 12s, and we haven't made those in 100 years. So when we did the Venture 12s, I switched everything over to the Venture single 12s.
And are you like me? Do you annoy everybody else in the band going, come here, you got to lift it. No, I'm serious. Like, pick this up. Can you believe it?
Well, the way I do it is like, this was an outdoor gig and it was a street festival. So we're pushing stuff through crowd, and of course, one of the band members or one of the front of house guys comes over. Hey, can I give you a hand? It's like, oh yeah, dude, can you help me with these and then I wait for their expression. Isn't that crazy light? So I kind of egg them into it, but
love it.
There's been plenty of time, like when I'm breaking down, it's like, dude, come over here, lift this cap. Like,
right? It's unbelievable. It really is. Like,
it is pretty amazing how light they are, and just how easily it makes our lives. I'm never worried about loading in. It's always the load out. After you play an hour set or an hour and a half set, and you're just like, oh shit, I gotta lift this stuff out, and you pick it up and you're out. So,
dude, and a lot, like lately, it's like one load.
Yeah,
base over the shoulder. Got that. See ya.
Yep. Exactly. No, I know it. It really, I gotta say, it's and it's funny. I sent was it a V7 or V12? To a buddy of mine, Greg Hanna, Greg was the bassist for the Dickies for a long time. Like P bass into an SVT into an A10 cab, and just slamming it with a pick. And he's been playing I think he's got the V7 through two of the 210, not even the Venture cabs, the 210, the classic 210 cabs like he used with the Who.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's like, I can't believe how much this sounds like an SVT through this rig, just that same, so like anybody that like yourself that's played through an SVT, they plug into the Venture and they go, it's, it's not a 300 watt SVT tube head, but it's 90% there. And the weight of that amp makes up for the lack of the 10%. So,
and the thing that always cracks me up when I use the RB210, I end up looking later, and all the EQ is all set just to 0 flat.
Yeah.
I'm like, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
It's just like out the box, just like, yep, that's great.
Now, are you primarily using your 65p on that?
Yeah.
On those gigs,
usually.
or are you?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, because
I
I
mean,
know you do have other bases, but that is your main base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally I have a 58 or 59p with flats, and sometimes I'll use that.
Okay.
But most of the time, and also I have an American original from a few years ago,
Yeah.
P bass, and that thing's killer. And sometimes, like, so there's a place I play fairly every couple of weeks. It's a brewery called the Whittier Brewery. I think some really great guitar players lead the band there. And anyway, that's something I do frequently that I would bring a combo to. And every once in a while, there's like rain in the forecast.
Yeah.
So that's when I break out the reissue.
Yeah.
Bring my 65 out in the rain.
Absolutely.
So that's a really good sounding bass. The American original Fender.
Sure.
Bass.
Yeah.
Killer.
I think Dom's is like a 59 or one of those like American, and it's clay dots. Like it is how they built them back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, Fenders have been hit and miss, over the years, but the past like 5-10 years, they're great. I mean, I have the real thing, and I'm like, meh. No, it's not like a huge giant difference between my 65 and that American original. There are times on sessions where I actually choose the American original over my 65 for certain.
How come? What would the reason?
It's the American original, the reissue is a little less aggressive. My P bass is very aggressive. It's got a lot of mids and bright. It's bright and like if it's like a country ballad or something, but it wants a P bass, but this is just too much.
Yep.
The American original is a little more mellow.
Okay.
And so I'll choose that for certain things.
As we say in the SVT world, it's a lot more polite.
There you go. Yeah. This bass is not always terribly polite. It's versatile. It can do a lot, but
that's cool.
It's
now I got to ask somebody had just posted something on Facebook. I'm a doom scroller, so forgive me, but somebody had posted they had brought their Gibson J20 and gate checked it.
Oh geez.
In a mono bag, and no fault to mono. A bag is a bag, and an acoustic guitar is an acoustic guitar, and a baggage handler is a baggage handler. So the guitar.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, I won't even try and find pictures of it, but the guitar literally got destroyed. It looked like they gave it to the American Tourister gorilla in those old commercials.
Yeah.
Anyways, my question being, when you travel with your 65, do you check it in a flight case, or do you make sure that no leaves your shoulder?
No, I'm all about checking. I know there's like a lot of debate and conversation about that. I always check it. I have a crazy, obnoxious, super annoying, heavy case. And I check it because I'm worried that I'm going to get to the plane and they can just, they can be like, no, that's not going on the plane. We're going to, put a tag on it and off it goes. And then it's like, that's going to be a stressful flight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. I've never had my bass lost. I'm fortunate. We fly good airlines and I'm usually business class. They kind of look after those.
Yep.
Bags. Interestingly though, when I was flying home from England, I went to the counter and like, hey, check my bass, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, it's got to go to oversized, which is normally they can't take it with your suitcase there at the counter. They're like, oh, just leave it over there on that cart and somebody will come get it.
Yes, somebody will come get it.
I was like, no, I'll wait with it. Yeah. So I put it on the cart and I'm waiting there. And actually the girl said, "Oh, the person behind the ticket counter was like, oh, I'll keep an eye on it." And I was like, okay. So I go and I just stand there with it. And then she like takes a break and leaves. She's just like, later.
So much for keeping an eye on it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So and I waited there for like 20 minutes until I saw somebody with a, tag and the whole thing, like luggage guy, and he took it away. But I was like, I'm not just like leaving this sitting there anyway.
Yeah, no, good for you. No, that, and I'm glad you said that, because that is always it's not a debated topic. It's always a discussed topic about they can't prevent you from carrying on. Well, yes, they can. If there's no room on the plane, they most certainly can. I don't care what AFM says or not, and I've always, whether it's an MTD or not, I haven't traveled with the 71 yet, but any bases I travel with, I put in a gig bag, goes in the base safe, the SKB base safe, or some sort of contraption that I know, a gorilla is not going to be able to get into, sort of thing,
Right.
And then air tags is always a good thing. You put an air tag in your instrument as well.
I've been thinking about putting an air tag in the control cavity of my P base. The problem is, so those old pick guards, they shrink over time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they'll start to shrink. And so what can happen is, if you so they're, if people don't know, they're held on by a whole bunch of screws all around it, right?
Yeah.
So you undo all those screws, you take it off, it'll go whoop. And then you go to put it back on. You can't put it back on. It'll shrink enough that the screw holes don't line up anymore.
Yeah, the old nitrocellulose.
Yeah, so I kind of want to put an air tag in there, but like I don't know if I want to take that off, because I think it's at the point now. I've had it off before, but it's in the past year or two, it's like I can see it starting to like,
I wish I was going to say, and I don't know if you'd want to do it on this particular base, but I wish more manufacturers started, like in control cavities or in neck pockets, if they could do it, where they could leave enough of a circle cut out like a route to drop an air tag in.
Right.
And then
I was thinking, how cool would it be if somebody made a knob that you could just replace the knob, and the knob was an air tag?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe the metal. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know it. But that, I know it's always, like I said, it's an often talked about subject. And there was at one point, I mean, if I am carrying a base on, I'll make sure it's in like one of those hybrid type of soft bag, hard case type things. So if I do have to gauge check it, it's
and also, my circumstances are not the same as everybody's, to where, like, usually if I'm flying out with my base, I get to where I'm going, and then it goes on to like a truck with the rest of the gear and goes around, and then I take it home later. But if you're like flying every other day to a different gig, like carrying around this giant heavy case, like it's a pain in the butt. And so at that point, I'd probably use a reissue or something, to where it's replaceable. This base for me is not replaceable. There's I mean, even if I got another 65, it's not the same.
Exactly. No, I know that. I just, like I said, I saw that post and we were talking about flying and this and that. I was just, this poor guy's J20 just destroy. I mean, like in splinters type of, but then I'm thinking, like, everybody's like, oh, go after the air. It's like, dude, no offense, but you checked an acoustic guitar in a soft bag, essentially. I know monos are great bags, but and I know Kirk P is watching this, and I know Kirk has, because he and I have talked about this in the past, where he has a double mono bag where he has checked some of his bases too. Right. But yeah, it all depends on the situation and the airline you're flying too.
Exactly. Another thing I'll say related to that's kind of funny, I think, is when I'm on a long tour, I need a base for the hotel room.
Yep.
Because the gear is on a truck going with the elves that make it go from one place to another. And so I have a Hohner Steinberger copy.
Oh,
it looks like the old Steinberger, headless, bodiless. Which there's basically nothing. It's like a 2x4 with strings. There's no tuners to get broken or anything. So I put that in a soft case and I'll check it.
Okay.
In a soft case.
Yeah.
And the airline people are like, really? I'm like, whatever. I mean, I literally got it for $150 on eBay.
Okay.
And like I say, it's like, it's just a board with strings on it. Like you can't. And so I'm just like, soft case, check it. See ya. And it's like, oh my God, you're crazy.
And it's not a $3,000 original Steinberger either. You know, that's the beauty of it. I would love to have
one of those. Yeah. But it's hilarious. It's hilarious to me sometimes when people are like, what are you doing?
So funny. Yeah. So. Hey, I am going to address Fern Cardenas is asking, can we talk about the Zack Starkey Braha? So we knew this was going to come up.
Of course.
And yes, I'll let Jon talk about it. I know what I saw, but it is this is band stuff, you know?
Yeah. What to say about it? I mean, Zach's been in the band for 30 years. There's obviously some history there. I'm not aware of all of the dynamics there. I will say that I'm team Zack. Like, I love Zack. I love his drumming. Sure. I think he's the best drummer on the planet for that band.
Yeah.
I love playing with him.
It's his godfather. You know, he's the godson.
I mean, and besides that, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, he plays the bleep out of that catalog. You know, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know the insides and outs of what happened between, Roger and him and Pete, and what discussions happened and what the conversations were, or why it ended up in the press. I don't know. But for those that don't know, Zach's back, he's back in. So he's thankfully, in my opinion. And I think I played that show standing next to Zack. Apparently the beef was about the last show we did at Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
And I thought Zack played great.
I was going to say, he played the part to that song perfectly. Like, I don't think he was, I listened to it, I was like, that's Keith Moon's part. Like that. Anyways.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he played great. I think part of it is just Roger's monitoring. I don't think he was hearing Zack the way he wanted to. I think that had an influence on things.
Sure.
But anyway, I'm glad that Zack's back in. I thought he played great. He always plays great. He's awesome.
Yeah. I didn't realize, and not because I'm his age, I didn't realize Zack was that old. Like, for some reason, I still picture Zack as like a young 30, 40-year-old kid.
He has that energy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an interesting guy. Like, he's 59.
Yeah. He's my age.
59. There's an aspect to him that's like a teenager, like it's just all this energy, and he's kind of got this punk, he's got a punk attitude, so there's that, but he's a really, really, really smart dude. Like, he is sharp, he's witty, he's hilarious, but he's really smart, and he knows music. Like, he knows all these records, he knows who produced it, he knows when it was made, where it was recorded, who was influenced by, who it influenced, how they're connected. Like, he is a total walking encyclopedia of music.
That's amazing.
And actually, when we would tour, often he would get an SUV, or we would get in an SUV going from like here to there, or whatever. He would get in the front seat. He was like
he was the programmer.
He knew how to get all the like Bluetooth stuff immediately. He's like in the like infotainment section of the car, just like boop, 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 got his phone hooked up, starts playing all this amazing obscure like blues stuff. I'm like, what is that? What is this?
Yeah.
What, and loud, just like boom.
Wow.
As soon as he's in the car, it's like cranking music.
He's like your own personal musicologist.
100%.
Yeah. So that's funny.
There you go.
Hutch is like that too, actually. If you ever get in the car with Hutch, is like, I've told Hutch, I was like, dude, at some point, if you ever want to retire from touring, you could go teach at a university, teach musicology, like that.
Among other things,
of course, but just that depth. Like, he'll throw names out of who produced, and that's a treat in of itself. Like, touring and hanging out with people that have such a great, huge knowledge.
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And when, you know, just the fact that he's playing it all and you're just like, oh my God, this is so cool. What is this? Like, blah, blah.
Right.
It's really fun. Really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then there's also the times that he FaceTimes Ringo. And that's cool too.
Hey, Dad.
Totally. Yeah. You're like in the dressing room and then it's just like, he's got his phone like, hey, Dad. Oh, hey, son. Huh? You know,
that is
it's like still like,
that is crazy. Were you just
talking,
talking to Ringo Starr?
Yeah.
My dad. Yeah. What? I was calling to see what he's having for dinner tonight.
Totally.
Oh, man. That's awesome. But anyways, I feel the same way. I'm glad he's back. The band's kind of, you know, and yeah, unless you've dealt with, I used to say this too. My first thought was anything could go when it comes to in-ears. Like, you know, especially if you're trying to sing and catch a pitch and you're getting the wrong mix in your in-ears, that's not an easy thing to recover from. Granted, I thought Roger did a great job singing it before he stopped the song anyways, but
I mean, he's singing. Roger is singing amazing. Like his voice is incredible.
Yeah.
He hits all the high notes. Unbelievable.
You know, but the other thing I was going to mention is coming from a family business. And I always used to say this, like whenever you'd see something in the news between, let's say, the Kardashians, whatever. And I always just say, unless you actually sit at the dinner table, you have no idea what's being discussed. So don't try and formulate your own stories. Like, unless you're sitting across from that person having dinner, you don't know. And that's how it was in the family.
Sure. And also, if you've ever read a news story about something that you have intimate knowledge about and realize how wrong all of them are. I mean, I want to be all like down on the press, you know, like it's all lies or whatever. But, you know, sometimes you read something that you know about and you're like, yeah, that's not true.
I was there.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Hey, we got another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick too is and I know Dom and I have mentioned this in the past, but we have a new merch company. So we partnered with the folks at Plugins. If you're not familiar with Plugins, here's their logo, and I will put their link up here in a second. But Plugins does those jack racks. The face plates are like the Fender amplifiers and the Marshall amplifiers where you can use. In fact, I have one here. You can hang your key tag.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so
they're actually doing an SVT version of a jack rack.
Awesome.
Thank you, Haji. I think Haji or Aaron, I think. But anyways, there's the link for the. So not only
that.
Well, see, hint, hint. Yes, that's how we pay our artists, folks, in merchandise.
Hang on. Unplug my headphones. They just popped out. Sorry.
Oh,
I just tripped over my cable here.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry,
I didn't even know you had headphones in. But I will also say this: just in 84 episodes, and this just kind of shows you how cheap we are, or Dom and I are. In 84 episodes, every artist that has come on SVT Time has done it out of the goodness of their heart. It's not a paid program.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, John. So you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid for this.
Wait a minute. What? I thought.
My signal's bad.
Hold on.
I think my Wi-Fi is going out.
Well, should I turn my computer around and see what?
Sure.
So I guess this is how I get paid. So I needed something to set my computer on. I'm gonna pull the curtain back here. So I found some things around the house to set my computer on. You know, just a couple of Ampeg speakers, and then my light is on a vintage SVT and a B15.
Yeah, right.
You know. Anyway. You guys never give me anything.
We never give you anything except a bunch of heartache. But yeah,
I'm selective about what I take though, you know, like,
you know what? And I will say that too, in regards to relationships, artist relations. Oh, let me put this other link up here real quick. Oh,
yeah, this is a good conversation.
In regards to artist relations, it is a relationship.
100%.
It's not a you do this for us and we do this for you in return. It's a relationship.
Yeah, totally.
And I will say, fortunate enough, I've been doing, I don't know how long I've been doing artist relations for Ampeg now, but everybody that I work with in the Ampeg family has never, ever taken advantage or asked for something that wasn't unreasonable, you know?
Right.
And again, I come from that side of the fence too, where, you know, for years,
Sure.
I always wanted to be that artist that got the endorsement, you know? And, but everybody's respectful of it. You know, if you're going out on tour and you need an amp for the tour, yeah, we can lend you an amp.
Right.
If you return it, you know, whatever. Mike Inez is going out with, I won't get into his deal, but the man is so busy. He needed some gear. Okay, we got a couple of 810 cabs in the warehouse that, you know, we can help you out with. Return them when you're done.
Yep.
So yeah, it's that is the beauty of my job, man. I get to work with guys like yourself and gals like Harmony and Eva, and you know, and you guys are all pros and you know the deal. It's not like, you know, it's not the 80s where you know, can I get 15 SVTs and 38 10 cabs? And
but it's also, I have to say, from my perspective, like for me personally, half of it is about the relationship. Like, yeah, I genuinely like the Ampeg products and I've used them for years, and that's the thing. But also, I love you and we have a great vibe, right? You know,
we do.
And I actually, for a while, I was with a string company years ago for a while, and then the artist relations person, like I had a great relationship. They like got a different person.
Yeah.
And I did not vibe with them. And I left the string company. I like the strings, but I'm like, this is not a good.
The relation's not there anymore.
Yeah. It's like, just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a big part of it, is like the personal relationship, as well as, you know, the gear and all that stuff. But yeah.
Like you know, I mean, and I say this to you, I say this to everybody, Rudy, all the artists. Like, if for whatever reason I wasn't at Ampeg anymore, or we weren't associated through Ampeg in some way, yes, at NAMM, I would be saying, hey, let's go grab a coffee, let's go have like it. Right. It's beyond the product at this point. It's more of a friendship and a relationship.
100%.
So
yeah.
So I don't know. We got like this went from merchandise to wow. Anyways, anything can happen on these broadcasts. So along with plugins, they're doing our merch now.
Oh yeah, so, I totally sidetracked.
No, we both did.
Now I remember what we were talking about. Sorry, everybody. Okay, go.
So they're doing our merch. They're doing our t-shirts, our hoodies. Like if you follow this link, ampegmerch.com, brings you to the jack racks, but they're doing all of our swag now. There's no issues with, I know there was some issues with shipping in the past, where shipping was kind of expensive. You buy a $15 t-shirt, you pay $20 to ship it. The other beautiful thing about this is it's available worldwide. Whereas when we were selling it directly, you can only purchase it here in the States. So all you guys in the UK, you should be able to go to the Ampeg website and purchase, or I say UK because Paul and Rachel in Germany. And anyways, so one of the other things that we're doing in celebration of Ampeg's 75th anniversary, which we've been kind of celebrating all year, we're not making a huge deal out of it, but we have these 75th anniversary packs, and I think there's 75 of them available. And it comes with, for those of you that are of my generation, I had to qualify that. You'll remember these Amp Man posters from,
so cool.
I'm going to say from like early 70s, mid 70s. So the anniversary pack is an Amp Man poster. You get this cool vintage, the Ampeg sound sticker. That's another ad that Ampeg did.
That logo, that's cool.
Yeah. And then I don't have the shirt with me, but it comes with, let me see if I can find the ad here, and I'll explain this book here in a second too, but it's this advertisement Oh, I just whacked my mic. But colorized on a T-shirt, and this is like another ad from the 70s. That's on a colored T-shirt.
Cool.
If you go to the website, you'll see the whole package in color and everything. But yeah, so they kind of whipped that up for us for our 75th anniversary celebration. And just here we go, man. Haji, you're on top of it, dude. Thank you. I'm gonna say this is Haji. I don't think it's Erin that's posting these links, because Haji usually is the one that's behind the scenes doing the links. If you're not familiar with this book, this is available from Hal Leonard. We used to have it on the website. I don't think we do anymore, but you can go to Hal
I gotta
Leonard.
get that. I didn't know that existed.
And Amazon. It's available on Amazon too. And this leads you, it's a complete history, like some really cool old vintage gear and photos, color photos. It takes you through the history of Ampeg, starting with Everett Hull all the way up to the end of the St. Louis music era, before Loud purchased Ampeg.
Right.
And I'm always egging on Bill Moore and Greg Hopkins, the two authors of the book, to like, hey, you need to do a revise. You need to do the Loud years and the Yamaha years now too. Yeah. So but it's a great book. It's a great, any of you guys that email me or text me or asking, hey, can you tell me what year this amp is? If I can't tell just by looking at it from the graphics, I'll dig into this book and it'll give me the answer there. So that's another great resource. And I know where you can get one, John. But yeah. So man, it's great to have you on. Great to have this conversation. Like I say, this is always the conversation that we can never have at trade shows, because you're going to oh gosh. Yeah. It's it really is. It's that crazy. But hopefully I will be out in LA in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
If
you and Dom and I, we had a nice little meal out at Calabasas a couple times ago that you were out.
Yeah, no, that's that. Every time Dom tells me he's doing the coffee hang with you and Hutch, I'm kind of like, dang it. Oh, send me pictures.
We gotta loop Hutch in.
Yeah. He's going to be out with Bonnie for a little bit too. So, but you know, with you guys being, I'm the outcast. I live on the East Coast because my wife was afraid of fire, but I'm just
wisely.
Yeah, right. I know I'm going to get smacked for that one if she's watching. Hey, before we go, because I know we're running at the top of the hour here, but last time you were on, did we ever do Dino's top 10 or Dino's quick 10 questions where I asked you a bunch of like rapid fire questions? Oh,
I feel like I should say yes.
No.
To get out of being put on the spot.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot, but it's easy.
Lord.
No, you'll love this.
Okay.
And I have a feeling that
I'm going to have to get my my generation solo preparation going here. Like my deep breathing.
And of course, here it is. Okay. It's actually 13 questions. So,
okay.
All right. You ready?
Okay.
And you gotta tell me, and we kind of already know what the answers are to some of these questions, but question number 1, P bass or jazz bass? Yeah. Okay.
P bass.
P bass.
Though I love my jazz bass, but yeah, if I had to choose, P bass.
P bass. Passive or active?
Passive.
Okay. Rounds or flat?
Yes.
Okay. Not fair.
If I have to choose rounds, I feel like I can get a flat wound sound, pretty close approximation out of rounds. I can't go the other way. Like if I palm mute and turn the treble down, I can probably make you think there's flats on it. So,
good answer. Yeah. All right. B15 or SVT?
Wow, SVT.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, do I have to carry it?
No. Desert Island.
Well, I'll take the SVT because I might be able to turn the 810 into a boat
or at least use the
my
box.
way home. Yeah. Okay. So
cable or wireless?
Ooh, cable.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
know. Pick or fingers?
Yes.
It's easy to get a pick sound with your fingers, or is it easy to get a finger sound with a pick? I know.
I don't think I can. Yeah, that's tough. I like both.
Yeah.
I really like both. Like for me, like distortion only sounds good with a pick for the most part. I don't like the way distortion sounds with fingers, but like, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on that.
Oh, okay. We'll put a TBA on that. IEMs or floor wedges? And you got to think of the variables.
Yeah, it's as they say in England, it's like a horses for courses. Right? Like it depends on the situation. Like if it's like super loud on stage and I'm singing a lot, like I want in-ear monitors. Like I don't have a problem with in-ears. I've used them all my career.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you can hear everybody and it's not like crazy loud and you've got a good monitor mix, like I think if I had to choose I'd probably go with monitor, like wedges. Oh my God. Why is my phone ringing? I have it on Do Not Disturb.
Hey, that might be a gig.
It's my wife.
Dude.
So it might be a gig. No.
Pedals or no pedals?
Jeez, these are tough. I thought this was going to be easy.
It is easy.
I'm going to go with pedals because you can always turn them off.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I like pedals. I got a giant pedal board.
Getting away from gear, travel, window or aisle?
No, I like a window.
Okay.
I like to look out. I like to see what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
High bunk or low bunk or middle bunk in some cases?
I like a high bunk.
Okay.
Yeah. So the high bunks move a little more.
Yeah.
Because you're up higher. So there's but I don't know. I don't like being down by everybody's feet.
It's I know I'm going to get way off track here, but there's been so many interesting reasons for high bunk versus low. In my case, I choose low bunk because I can get out and run to the bathroom at any time of the night without disturbing anybody. But other people are like, oh no, you don't take the low bunk because you're closer to the wheels and closer to the motor, and it just makes way more. And in your case, you're saying high bunk because you get a little more.
A lot of people say it sways more, which makes sense.
That is so interesting.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Man. Black with white piping or silver and blue? Meaning cosmetics.
Silver and blue.
Okay. Hot chocolate, coffee, or tea?
Coffee.
Some of these get silly. Yeah. And then this is the last one. And you can generalize, but favorite place to eat when you're on the road? It could be a restaurant. It could be a style of food.
Tricky. A little tricky because I'm vegan.
Mm-hmm.
I have been for like 25 years.
Yep.
So if this is an appropriate answer, I like to find like local places, like little like one-off little spots.
Yep.
I love to find like a really cool vegan restaurant. And part of the cool thing for me about that is often they'll be off in some other part of town from where you're staying, and it sort of gets you over to a cool part of town and you like see some cool stuff. And
sure.
Yeah. So that's my answer.
Totally. And that's a perfect answer. Exactly. Some people just say, oh, chain restaurants.
Right. Yeah. And I'm kind of anti that.
Yeah.
Because I want to experience the local thing. I don't want to get what I can just get anywhere.
Yep. So, perfect. That's good to know. All right. Well, it was actually.
How'd I do? What grade? I get a grade?
You passed.
It's a pass-fail test.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody passes anyways. But it's again, like I said, anybody that knows me or knows you knows Dom, we kind of know what the answers are going to be anyways. So it's funny because some people will we'll talk an hour and then we we'll talk about gear and stuff like that. And then we get to the rapid 10, they totally contradict themselves. After it's like, hey, wait a second. You were talking about your jazz bass all the time, but you would, and then it's like, well, no, if I was on a desert island I would choose that bass, so anyways, we don't do it to catch anybody. We just think it's interesting.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Good questions.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it. Jon, man, again, I'm going to put this link up here one last time, altadinamusicians.com.
Yep.
For anybody that wants to contribute.
And go on there and find the link to the app that they have that you can, if you have gear to donate, you can work that out through there. And that would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful. Let me see. There's the Who. And anybody, just so anybody knows, obviously you guys are all veterans and watching SVT time. This will be rebroadcast on FaceTime and on YouTube, so you can always go back and get the links and everything too. Facebook, not FaceTime. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, Jon, man, thank you so much for coming on, dude.
It's just nice to see you.
It's exactly. And next time I'm in LA, like you said, we'll either go grab dinner at that restaurant down the street, or
for sure.
And Dom, of course, sends his love to everybody. He wishes he could be here, but dad duty is, it's. I keep on telling him, I said, dude, and I say this to anybody that if you have kids, you already know, but your life is going to change in some of the most profound and beautiful ways. That's all I will say.
100%.
So, yeah. Everybody, thanks for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks. May 13th, we have Moa Munoz. I always mess up her last name, Moa. I'm sorry. Munoz. Bass player for Olivia Rodrigo.
Cool.
So yeah, it'd be a cool conversation there too. She's got some time in between legs of the Olivia tour. So
awesome.
And Erin, I know you're listening. Thank you. So actually, she's not. She signed off. She went to a meeting. But Haji as well. Thank you for posting those links. And have a great Tuesday, everyone. And we will see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Bye.